To feel
the power.
That's Colin, Crandall, myself, Adam Roorda, here with another episode of MMA Power Hour. We're at the top of, or the end of, actually the tail end, bottom of the 10th season here. Colin, so many episodes, it's insane. So many interviews that you've done with so many fighters. It's I can't believe it. But Lift Token is bringing you another amazing episode. Go on over to lifttoken.io. Check out all the amazing things that they're doing over there with cryptocurrencies. It is me kind of heading up the blockchain architecture and figuring stuff out. We have figured out a physical NFT using NFC chips. We are leading the charge here with patent pending technology, and everybody's going to start getting on board here with commoditized NFTs, basically. And not all of them are going to be commodities, but you know, hey, you can be able to buy an item that's on the blockchain.
Absolutely, and the hard commodity, soft commodity, the metaverse, everywhere you look, this blockchain, this Lift token you'll find. And I couldn't be more proud, especially since I just found out Dr. Adam Roorda is my illegitimate son.
No,
that was something, man. You could have knocked me over with a feather.
Everybody's trying to be my illegitimate father.
Exactly.
Like,
now you got all the blockchain going.
all the long lost cousins,
yes.
Illegitimate fathers I never knew I had.
Exactly.
And I was adopted. It wasn't only documented for me more extensively than most. But
yeah.
Hey,
we can't call Dr. Adam Roorda an undocumented alien, can we?
No. So I'm going to tell you this. We actually got our first revenues from the physical NFTs today on a test. It was funny. We had somebody beta testing, and it was first revenues for it. So I'm actually going to NFT my tattoo that I have here. I'm going to literally put an NFC chip in it, and I'm going to NFT myself once, and I'm going to do it again later for a surprise occasion. But yeah, it's going to be tons of fun, Colin. But anyways, I think we're ready for our first guest right off the bat, aren't we?
I think so. Let's do it.
Is it that time?
It's about that time.
All right.
Hey, hello, Sarah. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Excellent. All we need you to do when you have a chance is to hit that video button. Look, it's a symbol or icon of like an old movie camera, and then we will have video, and as long as you see yourself in the frame, you're good to go. And there you are. Fantastic. We appreciate you a lot. So I'm gonna give you a proper intro as we are live, ladies and gentlemen. So happy to have on our show, I think possibly for the second or third time, and every time we're grateful, the UFC women's bantamweight contender, silver medalist in the Olympics in freestyle wrestling, the awesome Sarah McMahon. Welcome back to the show, Sarah.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
I'm glad. So glad to talk to you. And I was really excited to watch your last performance. I know you were an underdog. Both myself and my producer said, I think Sarah McMahon's got this. In fact, I think I don't like to like tag people too much to cause you guys all kinds of overload in your email, but I know that we put it up there and said Sarah McMahon's got this, and you killed it. That was such an important fight. Did you feel more pressure in that fight going into it than other fights, or what was your mindset going into that fight as far as your thoughts about the importance of a victory and relevance for your career?
So I think that each of the fights, I feel probably like the same amount of pressure. Ever since I've been like really young, I've always put a lot of pressure on myself. So I don't think it's felt any more significant or less significant. If I was going to say if anyone felt a little more pressure in my life, it would probably be the one right after having my son. I feel like that one was a really important one to get a win. Like just to kind of prove to myself that even though I had a baby, like and I was older, that I could still go out there and contend with these girls.
Who was that opponent?
It was Lena Landsberg.
Right, and you did have a really good performance there, huh?
Yeah, she's a really good Muay Thai girl. and she'd also like beat other people that beat other grapplers and did good stuff on the cage and good grappling. So she's become a lot more well-rounded, but she, obviously I think she probably prefers the striking where she, started her career.
Absolutely. With your previous fight before this last one against Carol Hosa, you went against the now champion Juliana Pena. Off of that performance in a good fight that you didn't win, but that you had some great moments in, did you have, or how surprised or were you surprised that Juliana beat the champ Amanda Nunes, or did you feel something in that fight with her that made you not that surprised?
No, I was kind of surprised. I thought it would still be a little bit harder for her to take it to the ground. When I fought Amanda, like she had I take her down too, but it was work, so she's really not as easy to take down as she was in the fight against Pena. Probably will make some adjustments, but I thought like her game plan when she was like, oh, I heard some things where she was like, oh yeah, I'll stand and strike with her. And I was like, I don't think that's a good idea, like,
yeah.
So I mean, I was wrong, obviously. She stood and struck with her, but I think that that can always go both ways.
Absolutely.
That could have. So I just don't think it's a smart tactic for anybody, not even Amanda. So
right, no, absolutely true. And there's a lot of talk that was kind of an off night for Amanda, but I guess we'll find out in the rematch. But more importantly, off of that fight, you were coming in against Carol Hosa, and she's younger and this up-and-coming prospect. And I just remember when I was thinking about the matchup, because not only do we do interviews, but we always like to look out for, good openings for betting. We don't advocate betting for people that don't have money. We don't advocate betting for fighters. We don't advocate betting, period. But if people are already going to be sports betting, since we've been watching for so many years, for me, before the first UFC, we do sometimes break down fights and give our opinions. And so I remember in the matchup with you and Carol Hosa, you were a slight underdog in that fight. I remember thinking that, like, the odds makers are feeling that off of a loss to Juliana Pena, Carol Hosa beats you. And I remember thinking, I'm not seeing that. I remember thinking that doesn't add up to 1 + 1 equals 2. It's almost like saying if I beat my producer, he beats me in a fight, then we can all of a sudden fight in the UFC. There's no right. You know what I mean? There's no sense to that or any truth in that. And I remember thinking that. I just think almost like the odds makers were looking at that. Once in a while, I wonder if a lot of these odds makers are like in their 20s and 30s, these handicappers. Probably not all of them, but and it seems like a lot of them feel that if you're over 32, you can't fight, So I think that just, they missed the boat on that one, because you looked really good. But yeah, you were motivated, you were focused. I guess you did say it didn't mean any more or less than any other fight, but that was an important fight, and I think that that you just looked really, really good. I know that you're an elite athlete, having been in the Olympics and having grappled your whole life. You look better than all these girls that are in their 20s and 30s. I know that sometimes the older we get, the harder it is cardio-wise, and you got to train like crazy to be able to have the same cardio. But you grew up with that training. You've trained like that all your life. But it just looked like the only concern some people may have had was if your cardio failed on you. Did you have any concern on that, or was that a big part of your focus for your camp, or was that not even really a thought?
No, it definitely has been a thought. And I spoke in another interview about it, but I learned actually it's a really wonderful thing that USADA does, because they take blood tests as well, and they informed me that before, like over the past year, they took my blood before I fought Pena, and then they took a blood test again before again in January, and like I had really low hemoglobin.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I know. And so they flagged it and they told me about it because they thought like, well, there might be like an underlying condition. Well, it turns out that I did. I was like, if you do a lot of really hard, stressful training, then you can have anemia, like low iron.
Right.
So my hemoglobin being low means that my body, my blood is not transporting oxygen from my lungs to my muscles as well as it should, which if anybody doesn't know, oxygen is 100% your gas tank.
Yeah.
So I've So I found out this like several months before my fight, and so I just started taking iron supplements. And I'm really thankful. Like Thorne sent me some iron supplements. And man, it's like a night and day difference. So like I train and I've been doing conditioning and I've been investing all this time into having better cardio, which I have my whole life because I hate getting tired in wrestling matches or in fights.
Yeah.
But I was like putting water in a bucket with holes, you know, like it just, no matter what, if if I couldn't carry the blood to my muscles, they were going to fatigue. So once I fixed that, man, like I've been doing so much better. And so it really like kind of breaks my heart because I wish that I had learned this earlier. And so I think that all fighters, like they should go and get their blood tested and make sure that, you know, that they don't have anemia from training really hard year round for so long, and that they don't have, you know, other things. You can have a thyroid problem that can be hurting your weight cutting. I mean, there's like different little things that you can change in your diet. And I mean, at this level, it makes a humongous difference. So that was the focus. And once I corrected that, it took about a month of having it in my system. My cardio like has been phenomenal since then. And so like that's why I'm like, okay, I'll fight. I want to fight these top girls. I know I fixed one of the problems in my, you know, in my fight game, and now I want to take on all of them, and I want to rematch Pena.
Love it. I love it. And for people that don't know or don't get it, obviously in the internet generation now, all someone has to do is go on and Google this. But for people that don't want to Google it yet, I know a former athlete who's a senior citizen now, and he was hospitalized during the pandemic. And one of the things that happened when he got out was that his hemoglobin was so low that it became hard for him to even turn over in bed or walk. And so it's a legitimate thing. If your hemoglobin is low, that is absolutely serious and can cause some major problems. And you know, we're cheering for him to get better, and that's all that needs to happen. Unfortunately for you, being much younger than a senior citizen, it wasn't the same issue that you couldn't walk, but I could absolutely see how it was affecting you. And yeah, I know what you're saying. If we could turn back the clock and could have made these adjustments in life, you know, but fortunately you got it here, and it's not 5 years from now that you found out when you were training people in the gym, or if you were retired, not that you will be, but you know, yeah, that's huge, because yeah, it just, you know, you just kept going, you know what I mean? Like it didn't seem like you hit the wall, you know, at all, like in some of the last few fights.
Yeah, I definitely like I hit the wall, and like I was super frustrated that all the work I was putting in didn't seem to have the effect that it should have, which is ahead my whole life. But you know, it's funny that you say that he was hospitalized during the pandemic, because a little over 2 months before my fight with Pena, I got COVID.
Oh, wow.
Only down for like a week and a half. Like it was like and I felt like but I had chronic fatigue, and I think my anemia, I think that it started at that point. I think that I just thought, oh, well, you know, COVID kind of makes you tired, but I can just kind of like work through it. And I did to like a large degree. I definitely got a lot better. But when we were supposed to fight on December 19th, and when she asked to have the fight pushed back to January 23rd or whatever, I was really thankful for that. It actually helped me, gave me another month, because I was really struggling in practices. But it was such a good opportunity. I didn't want to lose the fight. So I was like, you know, really stubbornly hanging on to it. But I think that that's when I really started to struggle with the anemia. And I think I had chronic fatigue for like 8 months. But I still was able to train. I still was able to make improvement. But in between practices, I felt like, man, I was like hit by a bus. Like it was really tough.
Yeah. And you had, you know, and it just made you feel that, like, what the hell? Because even though you're, you know, no longer in your 20s and just recently out of your 30s, it still shouldn't be that all of a sudden you're feeling exhausted. I mean, your training ethic, you're an elite athlete, an Olympian, and it just, I'm sure it didn't make a lot of sense, because you were looking at yourself and you were looking probably at other people, you know, who are not all done like right at 40 or 41. It shouldn't be that all of a sudden you're gassed when you train. So, you know, although, you know, but it definitely had to be frustrating, because you didn't know. You were probably thinking, you know, hey, I guess it's an individual thing, and is it maybe somehow all of a sudden my cardio is going to be cut in half, you know, right at 41 or something like that, which just wouldn't make any sense. And I'm glad
No.
you're right. I'm glad you found out what it was, because that's huge. Because that obviously was involved in some of your performances. But yeah, that was just such a cool thing, because you really look like the Sarah McMahon of the past. There wasn't any gassing. You were focused. You were fired up. And you know what? It may have surprised her, because it's funny. When a fighter is losing a fight, a lot of times they look kind of frustrated and confused. And I guess that's kind of a natural thing. But do you think there was a part of her that was wondering how come your cardio wasn't giving out? Or do you think there was any surprise on her part? Like, wait a second, this is supposed to get easier here with Sarah after round 1. Why isn't it?
So I think that might have been like they might have mistakenly thought that was now the new norm for me. But I think also the fact that like I was never, really put on the defense. I was attacking from every single area you put me in, and I've been working that like extensively. Like I've been working that for years, but for some reason I had not been able to like do that in the cage like I had been able to do in training. And I really don't know. There always is a gap with every athlete between sometimes what you do in training and what you're able to do in competition.
Yep.
And we always are trying to like shorten that gap more and more and more to where the awesome person, the awesome competitor that you are in training shows up in the fight. And like, I feel like I finally had a good breakthrough in this fight. Like finally some of the things I've been like killing myself to do, like, they were there for me and they were revealed. So it makes me trust myself a lot more, and it makes me like even just more excited to get out there and do even more. Absolutely.
And it should, because she was a high ranked competitor. I think she had won like all of her fights, I think, in the UFC. I think she was like 5-0, and it just she was kind of like big sistering a lot of her opponents, and and you big sistered her, which was so cool. She probably was thinking like, WTF, wait a second, I'm the big sister, what's going on here? And then you big sister, the big sister. That was really cool. But it seems like it was definitely a competitive fight, and yeah, but you look great. Now you're training? I know you're originally from South Carolina, I believe, right?
Yeah.
And you trained out of there, but then you went to Alpha Male, and where are you now? Sorry to interrupt you, but where are you training now, and who you're working with?
So the rash guard I'm wearing, Precision Academy. So I opened my own gym. And we have jiu-jitsu with my husband, and then I teach the wrestling, and then we hired Coach DJ Robertson to do our Muay Thai. So when I left Alpha Male, I mean, we had 2 of the components in the gym, and we just had to bring in like a really good striking coach to be able to kind of complete that. And so I have really good partners, but it's a smaller gym, and we all just like really like take care of each other and look out for each other. And when anybody has a fight coming, like we all like mimic that person's opponent, and we just pool all of our skills and help each other out.
I like that. What percentage of your training partners are men, and what percentage are women, would you say?
So I would say I usually train like more like 3/4 with guys, just from the partners, and then maybe like 1/4 with women. But we have some really awesome women in our club. So like we have like a girl just won like the Master Worlds at purple belt, and then we have a black belt silver medalist at World Championships in the adult. I mean, like we have some pretty tough ladies, and but they're more in the jiu-jitsu side. The people we have in the MMA, the girls are more like young up and comers, but they're talented and they're hungry, and so they don't give me too much respect. They try to win, and so it's good when you're competing with people who are trying to beat you every go.
Absolutely. Iron sharpens iron, they say it. Some people say it's steel sharpens steel, but I think the original saying was iron sharpens iron, I think, isn't it?
I think it's iron sharpens iron. That's what I've always heard.
Yeah, absolutely. Would it matter to you if you had the women there or not? I mean, obviously everyone that you train with gives you a different look. But would it matter to you? Was it something purposeful that you wanted? And throughout your career in MMA, has that been the case where there's always been some women but a majority men that you train with?
No, so I always try to train with women. One, it's important to have like a more of an even playing field, so you can really test more in real time whether or not your stuff works. Because a guy who's going a little bit lighter is not a good representation of another strong female.
Yeah.
Sometimes they don't really they can't move like a female. They're not like as flexible. And in jiu-jitsu, that makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
Finishing your submissions, but the submissions that they can attack. Flexibility, I mean, they can, you could have mount and they can wrap their legs around and one of the most dominant positions they can get out of. Like they're just able to move in a way that really, really helps them in jiu-jitsu. So having female partners, especially like very savvy female partners, it gives me like the best feel, like the best that any MMA fighter could expose me to.
Very cool. What do you feel has improved the most? Because obviously you always had your wrestling, but obviously staying, keeping it sharp and polished is something that you have to do to an extent. But obviously the mission that you had from the beginning in MMA, as anyone with your wrestling credentials, of which there are very few in the world of MMA, would want to improve striking and jiu-jitsu. How do you feel about your striking and jiu-jitsu as compared to, say, 10 years ago? And how do you feel they are as compared to where you want them to be?
So I think I'm probably just really hard on myself, and I will always want them to be better. So it doesn't matter, like I just won that fight, I'm already like, oh man, I need to do this better, and oh, I want to control this better, and I already have a list of things that I need to work on to make that performance even better and definitely get the finish. I'd say that like the real difference that I feel now is I'm more comfortable in being able to blend the styles. Like I can use jiu-jitsu and striking together. I can use wrestling and striking together better than I've ever been able to do. And like before, I feel like sometimes I was in like I could do one thing and then there'd just be like a little hiccup between going to the next thing, and like those little seconds are enough opportunity for people to exploit, especially if they've done MMA their whole life and not done the individual sports. So now I kind of feel like I have like a much better sense of being able to like just seamlessly blend those things without those little hiccups.
Absolutely. And I think that with your wrestling being so good, I think getting your jiu-jitsu good was definitely a milestone, because I think it was like about 5, 6, and 7 years ago or something like that. May have been a little more or a little bit less. You actually were doing some jiu-jitsu competitions. Was that around that time?
I still do. Last year I went to the Boise Open, and this year I plan on doing more jiu-jitsu competitions. I just enjoy competing. So if I'm healthy, I want to get out there. I won't do it too close to a fight just because I'm nervous of injury. But if it's more than if it's 6 weeks out, I'll go to like a high level jiu-jitsu competition. Just because I don't know, like I just like to compete. I like going head to head with these girls, especially when I'm like, okay, I'm 41 and I don't do jiu-jitsu exclusively. Right. I do MMA. So like, I feel like there's less pressure on me, even though there might be more pressure because of my accolades. But for me, I'm like, no, these girls do this full time. Like they have the pressure on them. They're younger. They have the advantages. Like they have every reason to win. So whenever I can go out there and take it from them, I'm like, okay, I can do this, in my MMA fights. I can do it so much better because most of the girls are not as developed in their jiu-jitsu, like exception is like a McDern or some of their girls that transferred from jiu-jitsu. But if I can do it exclusively against girls who are doing just that, then I think that proves to me that I can do it against anybody in the MMA world. I like that, and I think you're absolutely correct. What weight class or classes would you normally compete at jiu-jitsu? So I do 147, and that's like my walking around weight. Right. So I don't really have to do anything. I just have to make sure that I don't like overeat or drink water more. But if I just do my regular workouts, then I can walk into a jiu-jitsu competition at 147 without a problem. And then probably a lot of those girls you'll be going against might be like 160 on the day of the match. But that doesn't bother you probably, right? No, it doesn't bother me. Now, you probably just recently went from what, Masters 1 to Masters 2, or would it be Masters 2 to Masters 3? I compete in adult. In adult. Oh, good, because I was going to say, it just seems like it would be almost unfair for you to be competing in like a Masters 2 or something that you would just probably smash
these women your age or older, right? You know what I mean? So I'm glad, because I was thinking that would be kind of possibly ugly.
So I usually enter adult mainly because there's just more competitors there.
Yeah.
Because some of the girls, like, I mean, there are 41-year-olds out there just like me. And I went against a girl. I was at Marcelo's, and she was an older woman, and she was a black belt. And she's like, oh, like, I'm older. And I said, don't try that with me. And she was strong and savvy. And,
Right.
she went out there and she was on the attack. So I was like, you're old, but jiu-jitsu old is different, you know?
Yep, exactly. It's true. As long as you're doing it and you're getting in there and grinding, it's definitely a great sport and a great thing to do. Let me ask you this. From all the training you've done and the wrestling training for so many years at such a high level, no one doubts that your body and your condition is accumulation of all that hard work. But sometimes we see some bodies on some of these girls that are 26 or 28 that are not decorated wrestlers, and they look like they're just ripped to shreds with their shoulders popping out. And some people start thinking, is this, I mean, are some people cheating, unfortunately? And obviously it's a weird question, and certainly I'm not going to ask you to say what girls do you think are cheating, but are there any girls you think in MMA that are getting by the testing somehow, just by some luck?
Absolutely. And I'm sure it's not luck. I'm sure that they are doing things that like sometimes I hear that there are things that the drug testing like hasn't found yet, so they don't pick up on it. And sometimes people do cycles. I don't really know a lot, but I can tell you unequivocally there are people cheating. Yeah. And I've actually fought opponents, and sometimes it's like people I beat, and sometimes it's people that I haven't. And I've had some of their teammates message me personally, and I won't say who, but and say, hey, I don't know if this, helps or not, like if this, how you feel, but they definitely are doing PEDs. Yeah. And it kind of breaks my heart.
Yeah.
Because man, you can really do some bad damage in MMA, in boxing and kickboxing, and any of the striking sports. You really could damage somebody for life. So, and it is some of those girls too. I can't always tell who is on and who isn't. And mainly I can't tell because I hear some people tested positive, Brian Ortega tested positive, right? And he didn't look ripped and shredded, and so I'm like, man, and some people who are ripped and shredded, they might just really have really great genetics, right? Or have put in. I've been doing this for 27 years, right. It takes 27 years for PEDs to work. I think you're probably getting ripped off.
Yes, without a doubt. Do you think it's more? I'm sorry to step on your words. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. You can
okay. Go ahead. Do you think it's more egregious in women's combat sports when someone is really juiced to the gills?
No, I think it's egregious with men too.
Okay.
I equally dislike when they do, because you have more power or more endurance or something that you didn't earn. Morally, I don't think it's okay. I don't want to know or be friends with or support anybody who cheats.
Yeah.
But also even more than that, people have died in MMA.
Yeah.
And or brain damage or altered their life. And you say, yeah, we signed the waiver, but we kind of signed the waiver expecting somebody to be, an even playing ground and it to be fair. That's what we sign up for. Yeah. Or else they should start a cheater league, and then they can go and just bash each other's brains in.
Yeah.
But those are clean. For me, I had to mentally kind of get past it. Because I had a lot of bitterness, I had a lot of bitterness and anger towards people who were doing that. And I'm like, if it gets to a certain point, I really feel like a lot of my opponents are cheating or doing PEDs, I'll just retire. I'll just, because I don't know, it's not worth it. It's not worth it to me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know that Michael Bisping has a lot of his opponents that were on TRT. Now, at one point, the TRT was allowed for certain fighters. Like everyone's talked about Vitor on TRT and not on TRT. Other people, the differences, and I guess when it was permitted, then that it was different, although it still gave people an advantage. I mean, speaking of which, in a slightly different subject, some fighters were able to continue well into their 40s at a really high level because of TRT back in the day, and it was permitted. And right, and I think what it said was, hey, look, if you're 43, 45, 47 years old and your testosterone levels, let's say as a man, are this much lower, let's just bring them to where they were like when you were 35 so that you can compete. And I remember basically a lot of people felt, what's wrong with that? Why is that not fair? But then a lot of the younger fighters were saying, why should that be allowed? Why should this guy be able to have his testosterone like when he was 35, when he's 45? What would your thought be on that?
You do have all that experience with less of the drawback. So when it was this is the way I looked at it. When it was legal and in the rules, if people chose to use it, it's in the rules. We all understand what we're going into. So you know that you could fight a very experienced fighter that has testosterone levels of somebody younger, but I am glad that they did do away with that, because that's more in line with how they do in like the Olympics. And there's a reason why the Olympics also did that. Like they want people to be as natural as possible.
Yeah.
And there are repercussions. Like the thing is that some people can do a lot more than just bringing it back to the levels that are natural.
Right.
And it becomes a huge advantage as well.
Yeah, I remember the thing with Alistair, and he fought clean for many, many years, but when he was fighting in Europe and Japan, no one was clean, and no one was asked to be clean. And I remember the trial, they said that that the acceptable amount of testosterone levels for a man would somehow be like maybe 3 to 1 of what would be normal, and then I think he had 15 to 1. And he was saying it was eating a lot of horse meat or something like that, So
another problem is that when people would do like steroids, I think that like when it would raise their testosterone. I might be slaughtering this, but I think that this is what it was. And then their estrogen levels would rise a lot because of that. Like because it balances itself out. And that's why when they stop doing the steroids, because I think you have to like get off of them. You can't do them like all the time. It's pretty damaging to your body. Then that's why they would get like, like man boobs and stuff like that.
Right.
So they were using the testosterone replacement to kind of, slowly bring those levels back into check. So it was another way to like take advantage of steroids and not suffer the repercussions. And so I'm glad that they did away with that.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing you may not know, I don't know if you were ever a bodybuilding fan or anything, but years ago I was always into combat sports and working out. I remember in the late 90s, in women's bodybuilding, they were taking it to like the highest level of insanity, where women were having like 3% body fat. I think there was a woman that won 2 Miss Olympias, Kim Chasevsky, that was it was absolutely insane. And I think they made a ruling in like 1998 for women's safety that said, we're not going to allow this sort of a look anymore. We're not going to reward it. If women come in looking like this, we're gonna score you last. And
but there's a lot of cheating in that sport.
Yeah.
It's still rampant with it. And so like that's one thing that's hard is like, if you get into a sport like that, your choices are cheat or don't do it.
Right.
Like there really is no other option. And I kind of feel bad. And I know that they have like quote unquote natural bodybuilding competitions, but even people enter the natural bodybuilding competitions and still cheat. So it's like, man, like some people you're just never going to, I don't know, influence them. Like they'll find a way around the rules if they're really intent on it. And so that's sad.
Yeah, it is unfortunate. Well, we got about 5 minutes left with you, Sarah. I want to get your opinion on a few other women's fights. So first, before I do, you don't have anything signed as of yet. That would be really quick, right?
No, but I'm aiming for it, but not yet.
Nice. Let us know. I'm sure when you do, you're going to have all kinds of media demand, but just know that we'd always love to have you on to help you promote your upcoming fight. Okay, so women's fights coming up this Saturday. What a card we have this Saturday. Crazy good fights. Headlined, I think the headliner is Is it Peter? No, it's which is the headline? Is it Jan and it's not Jan and Sterling, or is it? Do you know what the main in this weekend is?
I'm not sure.
I think.
I think.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
I don't. No, it's okay. Cause so I thought
Volkanovski. Sorry, Volkanovski and Zombie. My producer just pulled it up. Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry to step on your words. So what a card. We got Volkanovski, Korean Zombie. We got Piotr Jan, Aljamain Sterling 2, Hamzat Chimaev, Gilbert Burns. The two women's fights include two partners for many years, Tisha Torres and Raquel Pennington, both fighting on the same card. That's got to make them happy. The training they can give each other is amazing. Quick question. Can a smaller girl that fights at 115 and her partner fights at 135 give each other a lot of good looks or not really?
I think so. I think that Raquel Pennington probably has like really good control, and so she's not gonna do something that would damage her partner. And also like Tisha, I bet you she helps Raquel's with the speeds. Tisha's super fast, so like going with smaller partners because I feel like they're faster than the girls at 135. So like when I go back to my weight class, I can see things coming a lot quicker. So I mean, I'm sure they've been training together for a really long time, and so I bet you they do. Like having somebody in house. Like I'm married to a jiu-jitsu black belt, so we'll be on our carpet. I'm like, hey, come here. I gotta get this defense or this submission and stuff. So I think it really helps having somebody in your sport at your house.
Absolutely, that makes sense. So, question for you. Tisha Torres, Mackenzie Dern. Talk about a throwback UFC fight, grappler and striker. Obviously, both are not, this is not like 20 years ago where the Tisha would be only a striker that knew nothing about takedowns or jiu-jitsu, and the grappler would be a jiu-jitsu person that knew nothing about anything but jiu-jitsu. Both these girls know about MMA, and they're balanced, mixed martial artists, at least to a pretty good extent. We look at that fight and we say, if Mackenzie had Sarah McMahon wrestling, this fight would probably be all over in favor of Mackenzie Dern. But she doesn't. So what she's going to try to do is show her hands. She's got some power. She's going to try to throw hands with Tisha, maybe catch Tisha or have Tisha backing off because of how hard she hits, and then catch her in a scramble. Tisha is going to try to not allow that and try to keep it on the feet the whole time and just piece up Mackenzie Dern. What do you think happens in that fight, and a prediction if you have one, if you're on the fence? I understand.
That's a really tough fight to call. It is. I think that I'm gonna lean. Gosh, this is tough because I really like both fighters, so I hate calling these different fights.
Yep.
But if I have to lean on who has the potential more to finish it, I would say that'd be Mackenzie. If she gets her down, like I think Mackenzie's skills are way superior.
Yeah, on the ground if it goes there.
Have to probably she has to control the range every single second of the fight, and that's really tough to do in a cage. If this fight were on a football field, I would give it to Tisha Torres. But man, being able to crash that distance. If I would say if Tisha had more knockouts, I would say Mackenzie would have to be a lot smarter trying to come in. So I don't know. Hold on 1 second.
No problem.
Can you still see me?
No.
Okay, hold on.
No problem.
All right. Sorry, I had an incoming call.
No problem at all. I appreciate you. Yeah.
So I would lean slightly favored towards Mackenzie, just because of her finishing capability.
Gotcha.
But this is, Tisha is no slouch in every single area, and I think if any of the fighters that she's fought have the capability of keeping range and not letting it get taken down, Tisha's probably one of the best.
Absolutely.
A super intelligent range and a lot of motion, she can strike you backing up. that's a really, really tough fight to call.
Absolutely, I agree. We've only got 1 minute left with you, Sarah. Can you give me 30 seconds on the other fight, Raquel Pennington, Aspen Ladd? And I was wondering, could that fight be at 45? But I don't think so, no matter how much they want Aspen to be at 45. I don't think Raquel was agreeing for a 45 fight when she's still a top contender at 35. So I'm assuming this has to be 35. Let me know yes or no, and then a 30-second breakdown on that fight.
So I don't know either because Raquel took it on short notice. So it could be 45 just because she stepped in last minute.
Okay.
And I think that fight, like Raquel actually has a really, really good ability to stop takedowns. She's tough to take down, and she's proven that against like some pretty good grapplers. So I think this one I lean a little bit more towards Raquel just because she's got better hands and she's good on the cage and she's good at stopping takedowns.
Awesome. Well, Sarah McMahon, thank you so much for joining us off this great win. I really appreciate it. I can't wait to see you fight again. I'm so glad you got that problem with the hemoglobin fixed because that really is huge. And I just can't wait to see the best Sarah McMahon going forward. I know you're going to kill it. And what an amazing story it would be if you could put UFC gold around your waist. That would be one of the feel-good moments, I think, in the history of MMA. You're such a nice person and a hard worker, and I really want to thank you so much for joining us here in the MMA Power Hour. And you know, just keep up the great work. We really will keep cheering for you, and I appreciate you a lot.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Have a great one.
You too.
Thanks. And that was Sarah McMahon, Dr. Adam Roorda. We are ready for our next guest. Always great to talk to Sarah, isn't it?
Absolutely. So our next guest, is it Mr. Paulson?
Yes.
All right. He was just trying us, so there he is. He's right here.
Eric, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Awesome. We got you there. Let me give you a proper introduction because we are live. Ladies and gentlemen, so happy to have this next guest back on the show. We've had him a couple times before. Former World Shuto champion, founder and creator of CSW, one of the foremost experts in both catch wrestling and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, the man they call the Viking, Eric Paulson. Welcome back to the show, my friend.
Hello.
Good to see you. So glad to have you here, man. We just had Sarah
How come
McMahon
I
on.
can't see you guys?
You know, you can't see us. I think it has to do something with the connection. I think there has to be one component, which is like umpteen thousands of dollars connected to do that. We don't have that one up, so I apologize for
That's
that.
okay.
But as long as you see yourself, I'm hearing something in the background. Dr. Adam Roorda, is that on here, his side or ours? I think it's on. Okay. All right. So you know what, Eric, I think you actually have us on a broadcast somewhere other than connected with us. I don't know if you could turn off where you have it on because I'm hearing an echo because of that. If not, we'll figure it out.
I only have you on
On the
video
Skype?
chat.
Oh, yeah, because if you have us on the Skype, that's all we need. But if you actually had us on like a different device for someone else to watch it, we're hearing that feedback. But if you don't, then don't worry about it. I'll ignore my echo. Okay. Or let me ask my producer, Dr. Adam Roorda, do we need to get him to adjust that? Yeah, we'll figure it out. Okay, Eric. So, two big fights. There's so many big fights in this next card, but two of them I really want your opinion on as a person who has trained and competed in grappling for 3 decades and really is one of the foremost authorities. We've got two interesting matchups here, and I'm going to save the second one, which I think people are even more curious about, for last. So let's go to the first one. The rematch between Aljamain Sterling and Petr Yan, the Russian. In the first fight nearly 1 year ago, Sterling, I think, was maybe a slight favorite going into it, and he was known as the better wrestler, the better jiu-jitsu guy. Striking was somewhat competitive, and it looked like it was his fight. Petr Yan always with a little bit better hands, and wrestling defense, takedown defense was good. First round looked like it was all Aljo. Then it looked like he gassed or got hurt or just couldn't figure it out. He couldn't get Yan down. Yan pieced him up. And then after Yan winning, I think 2 or 2.5 rounds convincingly, after Aljo winning the first round, the foul came with that illegal knee to the downed opponent, knee to the head on Aljamain Sterling. Yan's corner was heard yelling out, knee him in the head, even though Aljo was down, but you don't know whether his corner knew Aljo was down. Sometimes you can't see clearly. Either way, a lot of people are split on that. For a rare, I think the only occasion in UFC history the title changed hands, and Aljamain Sterling became the new UFC bantamweight champion on a foul. He was subsequently injured and having surgeries over the next year. Now the rematch. Odds makers feel that Petr Yan does what all the haters and all the doubters and all the people that felt Aljamain Sterling was playing and he could have continued and whatever. The odds makers feel that the storybook ending is that all the haters and doubters of Aljamain Sterling get their wish when Petr Yan just completely takes him apart and wins this fight easily. I'm not seeing it that way. I don't know why odds makers feel it that way. Could it happen? Possibly. But Aljamain Sterling has mentioned that he had an injury going into that. I think he had some illness, personal issues, as well as the fact that I think he didn't expect that Petr Yan's takedown defense would be that good. But to me, I think this is an even fight, just like it was the first time it happened. Like your opinion, though, in having watched these two guys fight and seeing what they know each other now, seeing them come back a year later, what do you think?
Petr Yan.
Yeah.
He lost his belt from the illegal knee. Trains at Tiger Muay Thai. Striking and all around everything. Very all around, great at all aspects. Striking, takedowns, grappling. And Aljamain, he's a good grappler, but I don't know if his striking can compare the all-around MMA of Petr Yan.
Correct.
Petr Yan, he lost his belt. Didn't he just come in off of a victory also?
Yeah, he had actually coming off for victory, and then he lost his belt to Sterling. And then since Sterling was injured, I think he was either stripped and Yan won the fight, or Yan has a interim title or something. But that's what we're looking at now. And Jan's also, I think, won 2 fights since that loss.
So Sterling has Jan's belt, correct?
I believe so, or I believe one has an interim and one has the belt. But this will clear it up.
So I'm going to guarantee you that Petr Yan, because of that DQ, he's going to come back twice as hard, twice as strong to win back that belt. If he's still in the game, he's young, so he's still there. So he's got a very complete game. So I think he has a great chance at imposing his will against Sterling because of the fact that he is a more complete all-around fighter than Sterling is.
But do you see why the odds would be 5-1 though? That to me, that seems like that's weird when there was an even money going into their first fight.
Those are very strange odds. But Sterling also trains with Longo and
Matt Serra-Longo.
Yeah. So he's in a great camp. He's got a great coach, and if they could figure him out, it'd be cool. But the guy's got a pretty complete game, so and he's got that Russian mentality also.
Yeah, it's weird. So many of these Russians are grapplers, and he's more of an anti-grappler. He's got his grappling down, but he uses it more defensively because his striking is so good. He's just like a solid little guy, and he's short and compact, so it's hard to take him down, and his striking's so good. But would you think that Sterling's plan is still going to be to try to get those takedowns? I mean, I guess if you're an inferior striker, that has to be the plan. Or do you think somehow in 1 year, Aljamain Sterling can have improved his striking tremendously?
I think when you're not quite as good of a striker as the other guy, you're going to pop him a couple times to distract him and trick him into a striking game. That's going to allow him to gain confidence and commit and step in, and that's the best time to take someone down as they come into you.
Yeah.
It's harder to take somebody down when they're going away from you and running from you.
Yeah.
Now, when they're stepping in, you can drop and change your level and change timing and hit double or single. And then I think he's got a really good grappling game.
Absolutely, without a doubt. I know MMA math never really adds up. 1 + 1 almost never adds up to be 2. If you beat me and then I beat someone else, you should beat them, and it almost never turns out that way. But if you look at one common opponent, a top 5 guy named Corey Sandhagen, Aljamain Sterling was able to take him down, get his back, and submit him in 1 round. And Petr Yan just went 5 hard rounds, winning, but still 5 hard rounds against that same opponent, Corey Sandhagen. But that doesn't really necessarily mean anything, or would you think it would?
No, I think, as I said, I think that I really think that Petr Yan's going to come back really hard, try to win that belt back, and he's going to try to impose his will with his striking, and who knows, that illegal knee when he hit it, maybe he'll be hesitant to throw some of the stuff, and maybe that will play right into Sterling's game.
Yeah, it could. Now, with all the fights you had, you had a complete game, although I think your base always was grappling. If you were Aljamain Sterling and a guy is a better striker than you, and he was able to stop your takedowns a year earlier, but I
fought a lot of guys like that.
Right. So were you able to, obviously you want to try to catch them and you got to stand a little bit with them, but can you adjust your striking? Obviously a plethora of different entries, Imanari rolls, and numerous stuff that I've never even heard of about how to get in for a takedown. But can Aljamain Sterling over there with Matt Serra and Longo possibly learn some tricky stuff to come in for takedowns, maybe different than what they tried last time, or different than a traditional single or a double or a high crotch or anything like that?
I think backing up. When you punch and you back up a little bit, give people confidence and they're going to step forward. And when they step forward, that's when you take.
I like that. Interesting.
Yeah, it's called a draw step. Like you punch and you back up. You allow them to step into your space, and as soon as they do, you drop your level and you shoot, or you hit a running knee tap, or a body lock and a leg trip, or a snatch single, or a single to a double to a bar cigar, or whatever it is. I think that's what I would do.
Would an ankle pick maybe possibly be good also?
Yeah, if you can snap his head and put the weight on that leg. Usually like a sweep. I like sweep singles, like a spinning sweep single. You're like to hit a hook and then you could sweep single on the far outside leg. That's cool.
Nice.
A lot of guys are good at marching out of that though.
Right. So
Bravo calls it swamp walking.
Right. I think I've heard of that. What exactly? Go ahead.
With your knees high. But yeah, that's it's like a marching step.
Right.
You march out of it, or you kick out of it.
Right. I think I've seen that. Do you feel that this fight will go all 5 rounds this time?
No way.
No. Okay. Someone's taking someone else out.
Yeah, definitely.
And it sounds like you're leaning Yan, or are you 50-50 on this one?
Oh. Statistics possibly go towards Yan. But if Ray Longo can put a good game plan together for Sterling, he may be able to pull it off.
Yeah.
It's MMA. That's the exciting thing with MMA. Just never know. Like, you think one person's going to win, and then boom, toss of a coin. That's why it's so exciting.
Absolutely.
Boxing's a little different because you're like, oh, this guy's fighting, he's probably going to win, and he usually wins. MMA, because there's so many factors involved, that's what's exciting about it.
Absolutely. The chess game of combat sports. And that's one thing, most people that watch the show know me. I started out watching kickboxing back when it was full contact karate, as I know you did. And then, basically, we were doing the same thing. The only difference is that you were actually involved in it at the high level. But I was watching kickboxing when I was doing karate, and then I remember they came out with San Shu. Then there was the U.S. Shidokan Open, which I thought was really great stuff. They show it at 2 in the morning on a Wednesday or whatever, and then when and then kickboxing, then Thai boxing, K1, and then when MMA came out in '93, I remember thinking, man, this is it. This is the chess match of combat sports. And just like you, I'm sure I just knew it. I knew it was going to take off, and at first it didn't look good, and not a lot of people knew about it. It was banned, all this crazy stuff. But it's such an amazing sport, and there's so many ways that you can win or lose like that. So we both agree that perhaps Jan has a slight advantage, but we also agree that it shouldn't be 5-1 odds. So as a gambler, there's definitely value in Sterling.
I'm not a fight prophet, but I sometimes I'm more times right than wrong.
Yes, absolutely. No, you know your
but
stuff.
It also has to do with the coaches.
True.
I mean, if Ray Longo can put together something great, and a great game plan and something to surprise them, that's wonderful.
Yeah, I agree.
And I just said what I would do.
Yeah. Which is repeat. Can you repeat that?
I would come out and bang. I would hit a fast, hard jab, back up, and possibly circle a little bit. I would draw them in. I'd draw Peter Yan in. I'd draw them in, and then I would hit a double, single, or a knee tap, running double leg, or whatever, blast double. But I would punch and back up. I would crack them one hard shot and back up and draw them in.
I like that. Makes sense, because if it's on the ground, especially if Aljamain Sterling is on top, Peter Yan is in trouble. And one thing I've noticed in combat sports is things rarely go exactly the way that people think they're going to go. And I think so many people are leaning over to the side that Peter Yan is going to take it back, and he's going to say, now I got the title, screw you, because I need you, and you got the title, it was temporary, and you were a drama queen, you should have fought and continued, and now I got my title back, so screw you, and everyone's happy. Usually when people expect that, that's when something else happens. So I'm having a feeling Sterling is going to come up with something and take this fight, especially at the odds. There's value in a bet, but it's a close fight. Anything could happen. So let's move on to the big one that I'm very, very interested in your thoughts. We had Pat Miletich on a couple of weeks ago, and I got his thoughts on this, and I know you know him well, and I'm sure you respect each other as experts.
He's a great guy, and he's a great coach.
Absolutely. And so Khamzat Chimaev and Gilbert Burns. So I know you know these guys well. Looking back on your fight career and the fight career of so many people that you trained and coached, how the hell can we know what is going to happen here? And the reason is the X factor is Khamzat. Khamzat has had 4 fights against people that anyone's heard of in the UFC. His fights previously were really against guys that no one's heard of. Yes, he smashed them, but I think he's only 10, 11, and 0 now. So he only had 6, 7 fights in other leagues in Russia that guys he beat, no one heard of. So 4 fights. You got to examine the 4 fights he's had in the UFC. 3 of the guys weren't grapplers really at all. And then the one who was a good grappler, he caught really quick with a knockout punch. The highest ranked guy he ever fought was ranked number 11 when he fought him, although I think that was generous. The guy should have really been ranked number 15 or 17 and had had an injury a year earlier, which was Li Jinglong. He's taken a big jump in class here. Now, the advantages on his side, as we know, he's about 5 inches taller and he's about 6, 7 years younger. But the proven Khamzat, yeah, Khamzat, yeah.
Well, yeah, fourth fight. He's 4-fight victory
in the UFC. Right.
Almost all first round. I think they're all first round knockouts or first round victories.
Right. Now, a couple of them were at a higher weight class. He fought 2 in the middleweight and I think 2 at welterweight, and this one's at welterweight, which I guess is positive. It's positive.
That's hard. That's hard to go.
It really is.
And Khamzat is super strong.
Yeah, he is. He's fighting out of Chechnya, that's similar to the Dagestani, growing up in the Eastern Bloc combat sambo. I think when he moved to Sweden, he became 2 or 3 time national champion in wrestling in Sweden. So how the hell do we break this down? You got a guy who's really good, but is a complete X factor against high level guys, and then you get another guy who's great.
I have to say it like this.
Yeah, tell me.
I didn't interrupt you.
No problem.
Kamzat's known for his 2-minute victories.
Yeah.
He's known to finish his fights in the first.
Yep.
Sounds a lot to me, Fedor.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
A lot of people are saying that he's the new Khabib, and other people are saying he's better than Khabib.
Right, because of his striking.
So, super strong. He has like 2-minute victory. Gilbert Burns is tenacious. Didn't he have a knee brace on there for a little while? Gilbert Burns, did he have a knee brace? Did he have something wrong with his knee?
He may have, but I think if so, that was a while back. He should be really healthy going into this.
Okay. But anyways, I know he's the underdog. Again, if Gilbert Burns could stuff him right away and take him down and go on top, I think Gilbert Burns is a little more dimensional than Kamzat's. Pretty well rounded.
Yes.
He's a great striker, good at takedowns, great on the ground. He's tough, he's strong. But Gilbert Burns is an expert on the ground also.
Yeah.
So
high level black belt.
Yeah, high level black belt. How's his striking?
Gilbert Burns' striking is pretty good. He was a work in progress for a few years, being a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt in a submission-only competition, but he's actually looked very solid in his striking the last 5 years.
How's his chin?
His chin is good. He did get stopped by Kamaru Usman, who was a former training partner of his, after a good back and forth.
Usman, but a lot of people lose to Usman.
Right, everyone pretty much. He did beat Wonderboy. He did just come off a really good win over Wonderboy Thompson. His chin is good. He's a little bit undersized for the welterweight division, being that he fought at 155. And the thing about that is they're saying Khamzat fights at 170 and 185. So you have a guy who was a former lightweight going up against a guy who's 6'2" that fights at welterweight and middleweight. But I don't know that you can apply that necessarily, being that Gilbert has fought about 8, 9, 10 fights at welterweight. So lightweight was 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago, not recent.
Okay.
Well, I mean, go ahead.
I think that's in the 70s division. I think Khamzat probably will become victorious over Gilbert Burns. Obviously, as I said, it's a coin toss, but here's the deal. Like, if you're more well-rounded in every aspect of the art, and you're good at maybe staying off your back, or you're good at striking on the ground, it could nullify the grappling from Gilbert Burns. Gilbert Burns is a pretty complete fighter now.
Yes.
His striking to takedown to clinch and takedown is actually very well blended. You look at nobody is just a wrestler, just a judoka, just a jiu-jitsu guy. Everyone now, when they fight in MMA, they're all good at everything, every aspect. And some guys are better at some aspects than others, but you can't say, oh, he's a jiu-jitsu style. That doesn't exist anymore.
No.
Everyone's striking, everyone's clinching, everyone's grappling, because that's MMA.
Right. Everyone has to be balanced. Makes cross-train, makes
balance is the key.
Yeah.
That's a key. Balance.
Yeah, definitely.
Striking, throwing, submission.
Absolutely. Let me try this, Eric. I want to put you in the corner of both of these fighters. Let's start out with Gilbert Burns. You're in the corner with Gilbert Burns. You're his head coach, head cornerman, and trainer. Your guy is 6 years older. I think Gilbert's 33 or 34 against Hamzat, who is 27. Your guy is 4 inches shorter. Your guy used to be at lightweight, but he's been at welterweight for about 5 years. The guy is going against fights at welterweight and middleweight, but your guy is the proven commodity at this level of competition. Your guy is the guy that's fought for the UFC title. Your guy has fought assortment of people in the top 5 and top 10. Your guy can fight at this level. The other guy, we don't know. With those factors, if you're in Gilbert Burns' corner, what's your strategy for Gilbert? What does he come out and do in the first round? What would be some of the tweaks you would put in that could possibly give Gilbert an advantage?
I would crack him, crack, step in his face. I would even possibly shoot a double, and then I would shoot a double knowing I'm going to fail because it comes out such a good wrestler. I would shoot a double, get to the legs, he would hit the sprawl, and I would lay back and pull him into my butterfly and then sweep.
Nice.
And go on top.
Because
you shoot, and when you fail, you just go whoop and you sweep, and then you go on top and bang. Now it's your game.
I love it.
Striking and control and ground and pound and control. Get to the lazy boy position. Get to the half stock position and just pound away. Those are the two go-tos to finish the fight.
Nice.
The lazy boy is the underhook on the far arm.
Okay.
And you trap their other arm and you just punch your face in. And the other one is you push their elbow up and you stock them and you just punch your face in.
Nice. So
you're not going to win with that because Kamzat's so strong, but that's going to set up the submission, which could be the Americana. And the other one could set up another submission, a slicer choke or whatever it is.
That makes sense. Would you think Gilbert should consider leg locks, or do you think a lot of these Russian Eastern Bloc guys train leg locks since they were a kid and there's no point in that?
If you're a leg locker, you never expect to get leg locked.
So it could be.
If you're a wrestler, you never expect to get taken down.
That's right. Gilbert, I interviewed Gilbert on the show here about a month ago, and he's got a lot of great people training with him at Sanford MMA. He also brought in 2 Russians to mimic Hamzat that did not want their names released. And so apparently he's got some guys from the Eastern Bloc, maybe that grew up with the combat Sambo, that's giving him some good looks. Now, obviously, if they were quite as good as Hamzat, they'd probably be in there already, although you never know. If they're like 20, 21 years old, 23, maybe at this point.
Alexander Elemenko. Sorry, that's cool that Alexander Elemenko and Khabib came in to his camp for money. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Yeah, I was gonna say that would be amazing. Because I'll tell you what, though, Khabib, I don't know if he ever trained with Hamzat. Not only that, Khabib's from Dagestan and Hamzat's from Chechnya. Although you're probably right, it's being sarcastic in that if anyone, Khabib probably would be helping Hamzat. Although
can I tell you something?
Yeah.
The amount of money that these guys make over there is so low.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you, anyone that's in any of their camps that aren't loyal, they would probably gladly come over and just to experience what it's like to be a training partner for someone for the UFC.
I bet you're right. Okay, now
I know that because my friend Omar Bouish used to bring Sambo guys over all the time to Sweden. He just said that the amount of money that he would pay them just to live and train there was. He said that just a month's salary he would give them was almost their yearly salary.
Wow. That's crazy. That's not a lot of money they make, man. That definitely growing up tough. Like Pat said, you're growing up with nothing in the mountains there out in the cold. Very true. So let's flip you now over and put you in Hamzat Chimaev's corner. You got the younger guy, the taller guy, bigger guy, but he has not competed with anyone at the level of a Gilbert Burns. It's a 5-round fight. He usually gets people out of there in the first round or second. What are you looking to have Hamzat do early or look out for early to get the edge on Gilbert Burns?
Strike, tons of knees, uppercuts, collar ties, uppercuts, blocking, hand blocking, forearm blocking, knees, lots of knees, snap downs and sprawls, lots of sprawls. And then on the ground, if you're in a bad spot, bridge, get to your feet, tripod, get back to your feet and get up.
Okay. So you think it would benefit Khamzat most to keep this on the feet, possibly?
Well, he's really good at striking and also takedowns. He's strong, so he's going to take him down. He's probably going to hammer fist the crap out of him. He's going to hit him super hard when he can, and he's going to probably try to put a darce or get to his back. His wrestlers are going to get into the back. He's going to try to get to his back or hit a darce choke, finish him there. Or he's going to pound him and then stand back up and make him fight that game. These guys are both pretty complete fighters, but I think Khamzat's very dangerous.
Yeah.
I think Gilbert Burns has a great striking, clinching, takedown game, but I think Khamzat's very dangerous on the feet because he's very powerful and strong and explosive.
He really is. And then his wrestling is so good. One of the things that we find is that it's very hard to put these Eastern Bloc guys that grew up with combat Sambo on their back, because that's the last thing they're thinking. They're like a turtle. They don't want to be on their back, and they've got a lot of pride. And I wouldn't be surprised if someone like Khabib literally was not put on his back for more than a second in any MMA fight, and if any, it was maybe one fight. Would that mean possibly, though, if somehow in a scramble or if somehow Gilbert got a takedown and put Khamzat on his back, could that possibly cause some panic? Or what would be the reaction if you put a guy like that on his back who's never put on his back?
He would get back up to his feet right away. He'd be like Chuck Liddell.
Right, okay. So, and it's such an interesting matchup. And the big thing, and I think this is what's going to answer the question. Like I asked Gilbert in the interview a month ago, I said, this guy, Khamzat, has so much hype behind him. He's not beaten a top 10 guy, or certainly not a top 5 guy. He's saying that he's going to win the title easily. Everyone he fights is going to be pretty much easy work for him. Do we know if this guy really is that good, or if he's getting ahead of himself, or it's a lot of talk? And Gilbert gave me a great answer when he said, we'll find out April 9th. And that is something that's for sure, because right now we don't know. But if he beats Gilbert Burns either easily or with some struggle or whatever, this is going to really prove he's legit. But we don't know now, although it seems like all these guys are that good. But is there going to be any intimidation factor, though? I mean, like, one of the things Gilbert said he's going to want to do is frustrate Khamzat. I don't think he used that exact word, but he's going to want to make it tough for Khamzat to the point where Khamzat starts feeling like something's going wrong. Like, he's going to want to plant a seed in Khamzat's head where Khamzat's going to say, what's going on here? Why can't I hurt this guy? Why do 10 seconds keep going by, and 30 seconds and a minute and another minute and another minute and another minute, and I still can't get this guy out of there? And it makes sense, I think, that Gilbert's going to want to do that. But, the question is, can he, or is there going to be any sort of a hesitance or anything? Is there going to be anything in Khamzat's head that's telling him, you've never fought a guy this successful, this decorated, this good?
No. Another reason is because he's very religious. These guys are very religious, and it's kind of a do or die situation.
Right, a lot of faith.
The toughest guys to fight are the ones that believe in everything.
Yeah.
And then they believe that God's on their side. Those are the toughest guys to believe. They're either Christian or Muslim. And I think that's a very tough opponent. It's someone that's just willing to die for what they believe in, for what they're willing to believe in.
Absolutely true. Eric, we only have 2 minutes left with you, so I want to get in the last couple quick questions. Both of these matchups are almost 5-1 with Piotr Yan, the Russian favorite, over Aljamain Sterling, and with Khamzat Chimaev favored over Gilbert Burns. I think you and I agree that neither one of those odds are probably really what they should be, not giving any chance to Gilbert Burns and Aljamain Sterling. Both of them have a chance. I know you're leaning toward both of the favorites, and I can see that. I'm thinking that there's going to be an upset in both, though. But if you had to pick, who do you think has the better chance to win of the two underdogs, Gilbert Burns or Aljamain Sterling?
Are you betting on the fight?
I like that question. Yeah, I probably won't, man. With gas being what it is here in California and the price of food,
betting on the underdog.
I'm liking the chance of the underdog, but especially because I think the odds are what you call an overlay in betting. I just don't think they should be 4.5, 5 to 1. But yeah, I wouldn't try to put you on the spot to have me bet my paycheck on it. So don't worry, that's not what it is. I don't know that I'll bet at all, but just as far as thoughts, and I don't want to put you on the spot with that. But do you think that all these men have an equal chance to win, or do you think out of the two underdogs, do you lean one way more than the other, or do you think it's all pretty much equal and all four guys have an equal chance of winning?
They are favored. And the audience sees statistics and past history. That's the statistical background of each guy. He, on paper, should win. But it's a damn MMA fight and a flipping coin flip thing.
Yep.
If these guys prepare properly, they have their game plan set, strategy, they're in the shape of their lives, their strategy, their tactics are set according to each match that they're going up against. You don't know who's going to win.
That's true.
But if fail to prepare to fail.
Absolutely. In the last minute we have you, Eric, I know you did say that you felt that the co-main event, Aljamain Sterling and Piotr Jan, would not go the distance. Same thought on the main event?
Sorry, which one?
Do you think the main, Khamzat and Gilbert Burns, also does not go the distance? They're both scheduled for 5 rounds. No, you know what? The Khamzat is not 5 rounds. The Khamzat and Burns is only 3 rounds. Does that go the distance, you think? Or no?
It's a 3-round fight, so I still don't think it's going to go the distance.
Understood. And they're going to be amazing fights on there.
I think history's been proven that Khamzat's been winning in the first round victoriously over everybody, and I think he's going to do the same thing. I think Burns is tough as all get up, but I think that I still think that Khamzat will probably become victorious in round 1 or the beginning of 2.
Gotcha. He is bigger, he is younger, and he's an amazing fighter. We will see, though. Both are going to be amazing fights, and really appreciate the breakdown. Eric Paulson.
Fighters. The thing is we're not choosing our favorites. We're just trying to evaluate and talk on it. I like to listen to people talk because it would always force me to prove the critics wrong. I don't want to be a critic, but I am right now because you're asking me. So realistically, these guys are all great fighters, and I respect all of them.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate that. Eric, I respect you tremendously. You are one of the foremost experts of submission grappling. The videos you put out are amazing. Anyone watching in jiu-jitsu class, if you look at some of the stuff that Coach Eric Paulson puts out, you can surprise your brothers like crazy with some of the amazing stuff from Coach Eric Paulson. Look online.
Camp this weekend. We have a camp this weekend also, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Master Higa Machado, Greg Nelson, and me on Friday. Saturday is Nathan Corbett, 11-time world Muay Thai champion. Sunday is 1988 Grand World Cup champion Sabat Tour, the predecessor of Sabat, Nikolai Sonyak. It's in our morning.
Awesome.
EricPaulson.com for details. We have our camp starting Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Absolutely. You guys know Eric with a K, ErikPaulson. Coach Eric Paulson, huge respect for you. I will check that out. It sounds like an amazing event. Thank you so much for jumping on here and lending your expertise and your time. I really appreciate you, brother.
Thanks, guys. God bless all you. And let's watch those fights on Saturday. They're going to be dynamic.
Definitely. Enjoy. God bless you too. Take care, brother.
Thanks for tuning in.
Anytime. Take care. Have a great night, my friend.
Thank you.
You got it. That was Eric Paulson, Dr. Adam Roorda. Always great to hear his expertise. And I love that breakdown. I love that idea I had putting him in the corner of the guys. That was good, wasn't it?
Becoming quite the regular guest. It's awesome.
Yes.
And we've got our other person, our last guest of the evening, I believe.
Hopefully he'll be online.
Let's see. Looks like it may not be online, actually.
I hope he is. Let's give him a shot because he's due 3 minutes.
While we're teeing up here, make sure to hit up at MMA Power Hour. Give us all the likes, comments, shares that you can. Also, hit up the Hannibal TV if you're not over there. Definitely swing on by there. It's the Hannibal TV. Just put it in the search bar. You can find it. Great North Wrestling or the Hannibal TV, either one.
Yep, Hannibal the Cannibal.
And also hit up lithtoken.io. I am actually a blockchain architect over there, building out blockchain solutions for NFTs as well as ESG, which stands for environmental social governance. We're building out some really cool stuff, patent pending on physical NFTs. Believe it or not, I think just insane stuff. Check it out.
They are very nifty as NFT.
Right now, we are available on DeFi, so if you head on over to Uniswap, you can go ahead and use some Ethereum to swap out for Lith token. No speculation on where we're going to go, but as far as building the technology out, we only have one direction to go, and that's up. I'm a moon boy in that sense.
Absolutely. If you are in the metaverse, Dr. Adam Roorda here is the lifeguard.
I'll do what I can to take everybody to the moon, literally.
Yes.
That's what it boils down to.
Going to do it, man.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I'm going to go ahead and try to bring in our last guest.
Fabulous.
Skype dance. Dun, dun, dun. Dun, dun,
Back is sore.
Jens Pulver.
The Jens Pulver MMA Power Hour Skype dance. Raphael, can you hear me? Raphael Stotts, can you hear me, my friend?
Hello?
Hi there, can you hear me? Raphael, can you hear me?
Speaker on.
Can you hear me, Raphael?
Yeah, now I can hear you.
Beautiful, I got you. As long as you see yourself on screen, we're good to go. Let me give you a proper introduction because we are live. Ladies and gentlemen, so happy to have back on the show. I think it is for the third time. We're so glad to talk to him. He is now the title contender. Fourth time, my producer mentioned. So much appreciate Mr. Raphael Stotts. He is a bantamweight contender, going to be fighting for the title coming up on April 23rd in Bellator. Mr. Raphael Super Stotts. Welcome back to the show, Raphael.
Hey, what's up, man? How you doing?
Doing good, my friend. How about yourself?
Doing pretty good. Can't complain.
Good. You look good. Your fight is what, 2 weeks and 2 weeks or 2.5 weeks out,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah, about.
And it's going to be one of those back-to-back Bellator cards. Yours is on a Friday and the other one's on a Thursday, or is one on a Friday, one on a Saturday?
Yeah. So there's one on a Friday and then mine's on the Saturday.
There we go. I like it. It's going to be amazing. Chris Cyborg is the main event there, and then you will be fighting Juan Archuleta. Now, it was going to be you against your teammate Sergio Pettis, and that was tough because everyone hates to fight their teammate. But what everyone says, if it comes down to a big payday and a world title, we got to do what we got to do. I'm sure you and Sergio had an agreement on that. But when he fell out, I believe because of an injury, is this for an interim title or is his title stripped and this is for his title?
No, this is for an interim title. Yeah.
Okay, and so the winner is going to be an automatic mandatory for Sergio when he gets back. Okay, yep. That's cool. So this fight with Juan was announced, what, about 7 to 10 days ago, something like that?
Yeah, I think probably like a little longer than that. Maybe a week or two.
Right, maybe 2 weeks. Okay. And Juan Archuleta is a tough dude. He's a good guy, grinding wrestler. You guys are similar, I think similar size, similar age. You're a year younger than him. He's got 28 fights and he's 25-3. and we're going to grab your record right here. You have 18 fights and you're 17-1. Statistically, that's a better winning percentage on your side. But tough dude, man. What do you think about Juan Archuleta? Has he ever been on your radar before? He spent a little bit of time, I think, up at featherweight, and then came down, if I'm not mistaken, and is a grindy, tough dude. How long has he been on your radar? Do you know him at all personally, and what are your thoughts about him?
Yeah, I don't know him personally, but I've been trying to fight him for a while. I feel like I was trying to fight like #1 guy for a while. He was like ranked #1 for a long time, so I was trying to fight. Pretty much him, Pachi, Magomed, like all of them, I was trying to fight. Just because they were ranked above me, and I'm looking for a challenge. So yeah, and I knew if I fight any of them, I'd get closer to fighting for the belt. So yeah, it's definitely been on my radar. It's definitely been something that I've been looking forward to do. Just recently, after the Magomed fight, I actually kind of called him out, and told him like, hey man, you got the #1 spot. I'm most likely next for the title. But I'm willing to forego that because I figured it would take longer to fight for the title to fight you. And then you get a chance at fighting for the belt, if you beat me. And he gave me every excuse in the book why he didn't want to fight me. So I feel like he's forced into this situation now because it's like we're fighting for the belt, and it's the first round of the $1 million tournament. So I'm super happy. I don't know how he feels about having to fight me, but he's agreed to do it. So we got that.
I like it. Now here's a question you might want to keep secret, or maybe not. When all of a sudden you don't have to fight your teammate, possibly your teammate can be helping you out, Sergio Pettis, for this fight.
Hey, I don't mind telling the world I was not looking forward to fight Sergio at all. You know, I was still struggling. Even I think it was like the 2 or 3 weeks where we knew we were gonna have to fight each other. I was struggling mentally, having to prepare to fight, my homie. I was just internally struggling, with that. So he actually had to pull out because of an injury. He tore his ACL, which I'm not happy about that. I'm not it kind of takes away from, his livelihood, and I'm sad about that, but I'm relieved in the fact that I don't have to fight Sergio yet. And yeah, he can help me, whether it be he can't train with me right now, but he has a lot of mental knowledge, and he's always helpful, encouraging and things like that. So I'm super happy that I don't have to fight Serge,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I get to fight somebody that I don't necessarily like, so that's always funner. It's I feel like a better morale thing for me to fight somebody that I can give 2 shits about.
Right. Absolutely. So, that makes sense. Now, my producer had to step out for a second, so I'm not able to see Juan Archuleta's top guys that he's fought. But can you remind me some of the top guys that Juan has fought and what you thought of his performance against them?
So most recently, he fought Sergio Pettis. He lost to Sergio 5-round fight. Before that, he fought the title, where he fought for the title against. I believe before that he fought Patricio Pitbull. And he lost that fight in a 5-round fight. He's fought some tough competition.
He definitely has.
We have one opponent in common, which is William Joplin. Rest in peace. He passed away. And he had a 3-round war with him, and I finished the first round.
Oh, so, wow. Now, has anyone finished Archuleta?
Not that I am aware of. I don't believe he's been.
So when you look at a guy like that who hasn't been finished, do you take that into consideration? Like, obviously, if there was like a street fighting league, which is not MMA professional fighting, but obviously, like if we were in high school or something like that, and another guy's a good street fighting scrapper, no one's ever stopped him, you pretty much as a kid would say, okay, I'm not even going to try to stop this kid because he just doesn't, it's not that way. People don't stop him, so I'm going to be smart, right? You know, but I think in the pro level, when all it takes is one mistake on the other guy's part or one extra quick solid move on your part, and you have to have the confidence in your ability, you probably are not thinking that way. You probably are feeling, if I'm not wrong, you're going to be the first guy that stops him.
Yeah, that's always like added motivation. I stopped him before. I first. I can't post to my last opponent that no one has stopped before. I think I can get the job done. I mean, it just tells me he's tough. He's well-rounded. You know, he fights well through adversity, maybe. You know, but I'm a different animal. You know, and I'm pretty confident in the fact that I can put him away.
Gotcha. So you have a strategy in mind. Do you like to look at tape of your opponent, or do you just have your trainers do that, or do you both look at it together, or what?
I feel like I'm like super prepared. I grew up at Rufus Sport with Duke Rufus.
Now, Rafael, we're having some bad sound problems with sound interference. I hate to ask you, but is there anywhere else you might be able to sit? If you can't, I understand. But yeah, I hate for people to miss what you're saying, but it's like we're only getting like one word out of 10.
Okay. Is this any better?
Yeah, this is a lot better. I hate to ask you, or I hate to inconvenience you, you know, but yeah, okay. So what were you saying about you're very prepared, but then as far as the question about whether you watch tape or your trainers do, or you watch it with them or separate with them, what do you do on that?
I'm usually like super prepared as far as like fight IQ. A lot of times the coach. So I grew up at Rufus Sport throughout my pro career. They got a good job of like preparing my fight IQ, and the fact that I usually like look what I need to do, and then I'll reconvene with the coaches, and then most of the time now it's like they just agree. You know, they agree with me because it's the knowledge that they spewed to me for years. So so I look and I do watch film, and I do watch for tendencies. I do watch for things that I can do. And I see all those things, you know, and I've got those things kind of dialed in. And now I just, you know, I don't like watch consistently. I see what I need to do, and then I just go get good. So I just get to the grind and get to, you know, working those things in real life and applying things in practice, and you know, I'll come out on top.
I like that. Makes sense. Let me ask you something. A few years back, people were criticizing Rufus Sport Team a little bit, saying that if you're a newcomer, you come in the gym, everyone's just going to beat the shit out of you mercilessly. Like, you show up there, just get ready to have, you know, the brakes beat off you every day that you show up. Now, did that really happen? If it did, has that stopped happening, or is that just something that was random things, or are you noticing that? You seem like a nice guy. Hopefully, if some 18-year-old kid who's not even a professional fighter comes in, they're not going to put him with you and have you beat the brakes off him, you know, in a training session. Tell me about that.
I think majority of that is like mindset, or like how you view perspective, I should say, because I appreciate someone like pushing me and, you know, throwing hard at me, so that I don't have to. The first time I experienced that is not in a ring, you know. So I welcome that type of thing, and I thank my partners for giving me those looks. Rufus Sport, we do spar hard, you know what I mean. But it's not like a thing like, oh, this is a new guy. I'm sparring my best friend. Me and Sergio's had like some of the worst rounds. I got Christian and Manny Rodriguez, who's also or Manny Sanchez, Emmanuel Sanchez, who's fighting on the card with me against Yancy Menendez or something like that.
Yep. Yeah. Medeiros.
Yeah, and we've like tried to take each other heads off, but it's like out of love, you know. It's like, I don't want nobody else to do this to you, so I'll try to get you prepared.
Right.
You know? And we welcome that. And we like being in the fire of that. So it's definitely different if you're not from that, or you're not you don't
not used to that.
spar like that.
Right.
So I can see where people can get confused, like, oh, they just try to take my head off, but it's like we trying to take all of each other's head off.
Right.
It's not just you. It's
It
not
makes
just
sense.
you.
Right, it makes sense. And I think what happens probably around the country, especially since MMA has become so popular, is you probably get a lot of young guys and even some girls that are not necessarily even thinking of an MMA career, but
Yeah.
they were kind of a good athlete, or they wrestled or did a little karate in high school, and they show up at like a Rufus Sport and say, hey, I want to just jump in here with the pros in a class. And I think like probably that's not the thing that anyone wants to do. You want to keep the weekend warrior, even if they wrestled 2 years in high school, or even if they took karate for 3 years when they were a kid. You want to kind of keep them training with them, not with professionals. Right?
The practices at Rufus Sport are like invite only kind of. So you have to be a certain level of pro before you can even attend the pro practice, like the pro sparring. But again, too, a lot of those are like super high level people,
Right.
It's like super high level people. So if you are invited, and you're maybe on the like least experienced side, it's going to be tough. You got people that have been doing this for years at a high level for years. So, it's tough rounds, it's, it's just the way it is.
Absolutely. Who are some of the people that may be retired now that trained out of Rufus Sport? Wasn't Paul Felder there for a little bit?
Yep, Paul Felder was there. Bilal Muhammad was there for a while. I mean, we got Manuel Sanchez, we got Christian Rodriguez, we got Anthony Pettis, Sergio Pettis, Gerald Mearshart, Ben Askren, Tyron Woodley was there for a long time. John McDessie.
Nice.
It's just it was a madhouse.
Nice. Have you ever tried the Anthony Showtime Pettis kick off of the cage in a fight or in training?
Say what?
Have you ever tried that famous Showtime kick that Anthony Pettis created where you jump off the fence? Have you tried it in an actual fight or just in training?
Yeah, we box Anthony Pettis, So some killers.
Absolutely. So this is going to be a real good fight. This is over in Hawaii. Have you been there before?
My first fight for Bellator was actually in Hawaii, so this will be my second time fighting in Hawaii.
Cool. Now, Archuleta, he doesn't have any sort of ties in Hawaii, so that's not really a home cage advantage for either of you, is it?
Yeah, neither one of us got a home cage advantage. I would say though, I would have the better home team advantage because I'm training in Vegas. And they call Vegas the 10th island, I guess, of Hawaii, or like the 9th island, maybe, something like that. But there's like a lot of Hawaiians here. Kai Kamaka, who I've known since I was in college. He's like there. He's from Hawaii. He's gonna be fighting on the card. Also, we got Boston Boom Boom Salmon. He's a Hawaiian. We got Maki Patolo. So I'm like with a lot of Hawaiian. I'm actually like learning to speak some pidgin.
Nice. Yep.
Yeah. So I feel like I have like a little bit of the home advantage. Not really, but kind of.
Very cool. Good people. My brother lived in Hawaii for a couple years, and absolutely great fighting spirit. Those are good people. We've interviewed Kai Kamaka. He's a tough guy, great fighter, and those other guys you mentioned, absolutely. Well, this will be a great thing, especially getting a win over Archuleta, being able to put that interim title around your waist. And then down the line, you will have to fight Sergio, but at least you'll be able to have that title without having to fight Sergio, and that will be amazing. That would be a great feeling for you.
Yeah.
And and then
I got 3 fights before I have to fight Sergio, which is kind of nice too, because I'm in this $1 million tournament.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
This is the first round of the tournament. I'll fight somebody in the semis, and then I'll fight somebody in the finals, and then I'll win $1 million. Then I can like unify with Sergio, if that's what, or if he's ready, or when he's ready.
So even though it's a $1 million tournament, Bellator title fights are 5 rounds, right?
Yep.
So,
all the title fights are 5 rounds.
So all your fights after you beat Archuleta will be 5-round title fights.
Yeah, I'm a 5-round fighter now.
I love it. I love it. Who is in the bracket that when you beat Archuleta, you may fight in the next round of the tournament?
So the next round, I got Leandro Higo, or the winner of Leandro Higo, and then there's a wild card fight. So Hornell Lugo and Danny Sabatello.
Okay.
So the winner of Hornell Lugo and Danny Sabatello will fight Higo, and then I'll fight the winner of that fight.
Who are some of the big names in other brackets in the tournament?
You got Horiguchi, Kyoji Horiguchi is a big name. You got Patchy Mix.
Oh yeah.
James Gallagher had to pull out of the tournament because he hurt his hand. Who else is in there? Barbosa or something like that.
Right.
I forget it. And then Josh Hill, who I fought before.
Okay.
He's a good opponent too.
All right, Patchy Mix. We've interviewed Patchy. He's a really good fighter. You and he would make a very dynamic fight. What do you know about him?
He's on the opposite side, so he's like one of. Oh, also Magomedov. I forgot about him.
The guy you just beat, right?
Yeah, he's in the tournament too. They're all on the opposite side, Patchy, Magomed, and Kyoji. So I probably get to fight one of them in the final. If
you had to rate those three from best to second best to third best, what would they be?
I would say Kyoji, Magomed, Patchy.
Okay, but they're all very, very good. You've beaten Magomed.
They all have the possibility of beating each other. They're all, very high skilled mixed martial artists.
Would you want to run it back with Magomed, or if you had a choice, would you rather move on and fight Patchy or Kyoji?
No, I literally fight whoever they put in front of me. I like fighting Magomed again. I feel like this fight will be tougher because he'll be. I feel like the last time he maybe overlooked me a little bit. But now he'll know, and he'll come, more prepared maybe. So that'll be a fun fight. It'll be a tough fight. But it's also super fun to fight some of those. This probably is more fun to fight some of those guys I haven't fought before. Yeah, because it's just unknown challenge. I kind of know what I got to do against Magomed. I know where I'm strong against him. But yeah, it's like finding out those things. It's like part of the mystery is like the alluring part to me, like the possibility of them, maybe being able to beat me, or maybe, being quicker, faster, better, that stuff is fun to me. It's a fun, game of chess we play. So yeah, that'd be funner to fight maybe a different opponent.
Absolutely. I think Patchy might have the best hands out of those guys, or am I wrong?
The best hands?
Or am I wrong on that?
Hell no. Patchy got the worst hands.
He does? Oh, man, it shows.
Patchy is primarily a grappler.
Okay.
He has hands, but that's not his strong suit at all. His strong suit is grabbing the back and grabbing people's necks. He's very good there.
Yeah.
He's not so good on his feet.
Okay, I don't know what maybe. I guess he's kind of unorthodox, though, isn't he? He's kind of tricky.
Yeah, that kind of orthodox style of striking. But his striking doesn't last long. He's usually diving at legs and diving or attacking the back. I shouldn't say diving at legs. He's usually getting people down, and he's pretty good jiu-jitsu too. But his grappling is pretty superb.
Absolutely. Now, one of the things that's unique about you is that, literally, your grappling and your hands are it seems like about equal, which is really unusual. I mean,
that's where I have advantages over a lot of people. Is I can adjust to what I need for the fight. If it comes time where I need to be a Marine, I can be a Marine. If I need to be a Navy SEAL, I can be a Navy SEAL. I can be an air, whatever they call the people in the air.
Yep.
So
Air Force. Yep.
Air Force, yeah. If I need to be coming out the Air Force, I can do that. So it makes it hard to game plan for me, and it also makes it easy for me to exploit weaknesses.
Exactly. Because in the matchup with Archuleta, it would seem like you have better hands.
Yeah, I think I have better hands. He has a little better maybe cardio. His movement is good, but also with the Archuleta fight, I feel like I'm better. Everywhere, a little bit better technically. Again, we got to see what it looks like when we put it all together. But technically, if we were just striking, I feel like I'm a little better striking. I feel like I'm a little better technically wrestling. And then the jiu-jitsu, I feel like I'm a little better jiu-jitsu. But putting it together is kind of where we're gonna see who's better.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Is your frame similar? Are you about a similar height as him?
He might be. Yeah, we might be like similar. I don't know. I think he might be a little taller. I don't know. I think he wear orthopedic shoes sometimes.
Nice.
So sometimes I feel like he's like taller, than sometimes he's not.
Yeah, that is
So
weird. You never know what he's doing on that. But he's definitely he's definitely gonna come in with the longer beard, isn't he?
Yeah, he gonna come in with the longer beard. He's probably gonna have me there, but he ain't got no hair on the top of his head, so I'll beat him in that respect.
I love it. Yep, the hair of the head. You got him with the hair of the head. Because he's
like up here a little bit, probably because of that tin cap he wear.
Yep.
So or that conquistador hat that he wears. So so I got him in the hair.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, that's going to be a great fight. Hey, let me ask your opinion on a couple other fights before we go. You got AJ McKee running it back with Pitbull, Patricio Pitbull. Is that back at 45 or is that at 55? Do you know?
No, it's back at 45. It's a rematch at 45.
What do you think? I mean, obviously, no one thinks it's going to go exactly the same as before, where McKee catches him in 30 seconds or whatever. But how do you see that fight going? And is there anything that Pitbull can do to give himself a much better chance of winning? Or do you think that exists even?
Man, I am done doubting that AJ McKee kid. I'm done doubting him. I stopped doubting him after he fought Darian Caldwell and caught him in like that crazy guillotine looking kid. And he's super well rounded too. He's like he can take the fight anywhere. So I'm actually excited. I hope it's like a more competitive fight. I think it can be a more competitive fight. I also feel it's going to be a different fight because Patricio knows, or he felt him and he feels, I feel like a lot of AJ was like unknown, so now he realizes, he possesses danger. And so I think it could be a very close fight, but I'm excited. I'm done doubting AJ McKee. I got to go with AJ McKee because I'm done doubting it. It was like kind of where Conor McGregor was for a while. I was like, I don't know if he's good. Then he kept beating the next guy, and I'm like, I don't know. But this guy is like tougher. And then he's like, he proves himself in every test. So, I'm done doubting the guy.
Absolutely. Can I get your opinion on some UFC fights?
Yeah.
Appreciate it. So, big card April 9th here in the UFC, man. We got 3 fights that are piquing a lot of people's interest. And it's Alexander Volkanovski against Korean Zombie. It was supposed to be Volkanovski Holloway 3. Korean Zombie took it on about a 1-month notice, maybe 5 weeks. He's such a tough guy, but man, the way the Australian has been looking, Alexander Volkanovski. I mean, one thing I don't know if you know about him, he's about 5'6" and a half, and he fights here at featherweight. He used to play rugby, and he was weighing about 220 pounds. And he was a competitive professional rugby player, I believe. So this is a guy who just carved out of stone from being a really, really thick guy. I mean, he probably walks around at 170 or something, and he fights at 45. Nevertheless, he looks so dynamic. When Brian Ortega couldn't catch him in that guillotine from Mount, that was crazy to me. Like once he got out of that, he just made me feel like I don't know who over there is going to beat him at featherweight. I don't think the Korean Zombie gets it done, but as a high-level professional fighter as you are, is there something I'm missing? I mean, I know anything can happen, but what could the Korean Zombie do, man, to take that title Saturday night, do you think?
Man, that's a tough fight, I feel like, for the Korean Zombie. To be honest, Alexander Volkanovski just looks kind of untouchable. Not untouchable, but he's like very strong everywhere. I think that Korean Zombie does have like a knockout or a puncher's chance. But I think like that pressure, like the longer the fight goes, the kind of the worse it's gonna get for the Korean Zombie. Because his pressure is relentless and it's steady, and he keeps that same, it almost increases throughout the fight. So I think Korean got to come out and, throw combinations, and catch him. Because he does get hit, Volkanovski. but he usually takes them well. But Korean Zombie has some knockout power, and he has some, hands of stone. I feel like, so I think that's his best bet.
Makes sense. Okay, next fight down, the rematch in your weight division in the UFC. Aljamain Sterling, the Funk Master, going up against Piotr Jan. You remember that fight, I'm sure, from a year ago. Sterling came out, looked like he was owning him in the first round, or most of it. All of a sudden, he looks like he's gassing for some reason, which he never did before. Piotr Jan was just laughing off his takedown defense, piecing him up, and then that illegal knee while Sterling was down. Everyone's screaming. You got all these jackasses on the keyboard sitting there eating their hot dogs and hamburgers and nachos, saying, oh, man, he could have got up. Man, that doesn't even hurt if someone knees you with the head and all this, right? I mean, I hate when I read that because it does hurt when someone knees you in the head when you're not expecting it. Yeah. And bottom line, though, is Sterling getting all this hate for a full year. He has to have surgery. People even hating on him from that. Oh, he didn't have to have surgery. That was convenient. He doesn't want any part of this Russian, all this and that. Anyway, the first fight, even money on the odds. Now they got it like literally 4.5 to 1 favorite, Piotr Jan. I don't see why they have that. That doesn't even make any sense to me. But in the rematch, and Aljo has already said he had an injury, he had an illness, he was in just a bad space everywhere. Physical health, body health, personal mindset in that fight. Now he isn't. I think it's going to be a real close fight. I don't think Aljo gets wiped out by any means, but what do you think we're going to see here different now that they know each other a lot more than they did a year ago?
Peter Yan is kind of infamous for like starting kind of slow and just building through the fight. So I think Aljamain, I think he'll come out kind of hot like he did, but I don't think he'll like empty his tank as much as he did the first fight. Just because I feel like he's felt him. He understands, like I'm probably gonna be in this for the long haul unless I like get the back or get something early. Like throughout the fight, Peter Yan is gonna get a little stronger. But I think it'll be a more competitive fight. I still got Peter Yan kind of winning, but I do think it's gonna be a more competitive fight.
I think so too, and I don't think it should be 4.5 to 1.
No, definitely not. Yeah. I'll probably put money on Aljamain just because.
Yeah, because he's got a good chance. And a lot of times, to me, I watch combat sports for decades now, and a lot of times when people look at a certain narrative they think is going to happen, it doesn't happen, right? Everyone's thinking all the haters on Aljo are rubbing their hands together, saying finally we get a hate on that Aljo as he gets knocked the F out.
Like the second most wins in the UFC. Like he hasn't beaten great fighters before.
Right.
Like everything he's done before is like null and void.
Right.
He's an amazing fighter. Like he's in the position to fight for the UFC champion. You know what I'm saying? The championship belt. So he's obviously a great fitter.
Yes.
Like he's not scared of nobody. Also, he's like fought a bunch of tough people. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And if it gets on the ground, I think it's his fight.
Yeah, for sure. I would agree.
Yeah. Then we have a really, really unusual matchup in the welterweight division. Gilbert Durinho Burns, the Brazilian, fighting out of Sanford MMA. Former title contender, coming off a big win against Wonderboy Stephen Thompson, against Hamzat Chimaev. One of these guys from the Eastern Bloc. He's not from Dagestan like Habib and Islam. He's from Chechnya, which is right nearby there. They grew up in that combat Sambo system, which is wrestling with submission holds and I think a little bit of striking. And he's 6'2", fights at 170, but he also fights at 185. People point out Gilbert Burns at 5'10" used to fight at 155, but that was about 5 years ago. He's fought at 170 for a while. The X factors are this. Well, the factors are height-wise, 4-inch height advantage for Chimaev. Age advantage. Chimaev is, I think, 27, and Gilbert, I think, is 33. But experience-wise, all Gilbert Burns. This is a jump up in class for sure for Khamzat. And as you probably know, there's levels to this. You know what I mean? Someone could come into Bellator, beat 2 guys, and then if they throw him against you, you wipe him out in 8 seconds. You know, there's levels to this game. The big question mark is, and I had Gilbert on the show a month ago, is this Khamzat legit? Can he do what he's been doing and wipe out a top guy like Burns, or can he even beat a top guy like Burns? Before you tell me your prediction, what do you think we should look for that could give us an idea, other than the obvious, that maybe something is going one of the other guy's direction? And what do you think their mindsets are going to be? What do you think their corners are telling them? What do you think might be what we see unfold, let's say, when that bell first rings?
I feel like I feel like we'll kind of know early in that fight, because they're both like super well rounded, but they're both grapplers by trade. So I think we're gonna see like how good, Chimaev's stand up is. We know that Gilbert has had a couple knockouts, and he's like been tested with his hands a little bit in the UFC. So we know his hands are there. We're gonna see the one stand-up fight that I feel like he had in the UFC. Chimaev was against one of my teammates.
Yeah, Mearshart. Yeah.
My teammate kind of started slow, and we didn't really get to see a lot of what he was doing. I don't feel like my teammate's head was in the right place at that time. But yeah, so we'll see. I think that'll be like, I think we'll find out kind of the first to the fifth exchange they have, how the fight is going to go.
Yeah, I agree. Now, that's also about a 4.5 to 1 odds with the handicappers. I don't feel that's right either. Do you?
That's crazy.
Yeah. I mean,
but he gets a lot of hype, that Chimaev.
He does. But what if we put together a parlay, Aljamain Sterling to Gilbert Burns? I think for $100, that pays like $2,000. Or something like that. Yeah, right?
Yeah.
That's,
Yeah, I feel like that's I'm going to do that.
Right? I'm telling you, right? Because these guys got a chance. I mean,
yeah, you hit, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think one thing that I used to think, and I've been watching combat sports for a while and training as a martial artist, but I was never a pro fighter, so I don't know. But to me, like, here's what I'm thinking. If I'm Gilbert Burns' corner, I'm not going to be nervous going into a fight, because you got to say to yourself, this guy can't be that better than a Kamaru Usman or, like that, right? So, whereas on the other side, Chimaev never seen anyone as good as Gilbert Burns in a professional fight. So I used to say to myself, well, shouldn't the more experienced guy immediately go out there and try to put it on the less experienced guy? But I think in a way I might be thinking of something more like in a lower league, right? Like, or in high school.
I feel like it's a thing, when you got a guy coming up, because he's like really coming up in competition, it's easy to like kind of dismiss him or dismiss his skills, just because of who you think he fought. And then if you're like overconfident, I feel like that's kind of where Aljamain kind of messed up with Peter Yan. I feel like he was a little overconfident, and he like extended himself, whereas if he respected him a little more, he would he wouldn't extend himself as much. He would fight a little bit within himself, but kind of technically. But so if you extend yourself and then they as good as people say they are, then you're kind of in a rough spot. So I would say like Gilbert should be confident in what he done to accomplish where he's at. But I wouldn't dismiss Chimaev. I wouldn't overlook Chimaev. He's another dangerous fight. Every fight really is a dangerous fight. Everybody, with MMA, you never know what can happen. So you got to realize, like, people are dangerous. I got to be aware that they're dangerous, and I got to approach it accordingly.
Absolutely. Any prediction on that one, or are you on the fence on that one?
Prediction? I want to say Dorino by check hook.
Love it, love it. Gets him with a strike. And would you feel Dorino has a better chance to pull the upset than Aljamain Sterling, or do you think it's about equal?
I feel like he got the better chance.
That's what I was thinking, because you're leaning toward Yan in the Sterling fight, although I think Sterling's got a chance. But yeah, there's going to be good fights out there. But yeah, Bellator is going to be amazing. April 23rd. Tell us really quick how we can watch Bellator, especially the Saturday card that you're on, because a lot of people, including myself, sometimes get confused because they move around on this and that channel. How can we tune in to be able to see your fight on Saturday on Bellator?
So I need to get the details exactly, but I know I'll be fighting on the Showtime app. I know the Showtime app will be showing the fight, when they happen, because they always stream the fights. I don't know what channel. Like if you were channel surfing,
right? I
don't know what channel.
But it's Showtime. It's either Showtime app or Showtime cable TV. Okay, yeah. That makes sense, and that's going to be a great weekend for Bellator. Well, tell us really quick where people can support you on social media, Rafael.
Yeah, you can find me at Rafael Stotts, one word, on Instagram, Twitter, Rafael Stotts, 2 words, on Facebook. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Rafael, I want to thank you for coming on April 23rd for the interim title against Juan Archuleta, man. I believe in you. You got that look and that sound of a champion, the confidence, the skills. I think you're like a balanced mixed martial artist for the new era where you've got that striking as good as your grappling, man. So I don't see people beating you for a while, man. I want to thank you so much. I appreciate you jumping on here on the MMA Power Hour with us.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Take care, my friend. Good luck to you.
You too.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye-bye. And that was Rafael Super Stotts. Man, Adam, how often can you say at the highest level of MMA a guy has his wrestling as good as his striking, or vice versa? Very rare even today.
Very rare.
Usually a guy is just
not very often. I'll say that much. But yeah, hey, it was another great episode. I do apologize, guys. My camera's been acting up, so it freezes, and I get into a bunch of production stuff here, and I'm not always catching it on the fly here. But unfortunately, you were able to hear everybody the whole time. Thanks for hanging in here with all these great interviews. I see everybody popping in here, and we're getting such great guest presence, I guess, and you guys are amazing. Colin, you are as well. Everybody hit up our social media, hit up lifttoken.io as well when you get a chance.
Absolutely. Dr. Adam Roorda, I really appreciate you and your help running everything. Lift Token is awesome. Great project. You're the blockchain architect and the king. Like I said, if you're into NFTs and stocks, and if you're swimming around the metaverse, Dr. Adam Roorda is the lifeguard. So you want help, just jump in on him and ask him, and he'll steer you in the right direction. Do you want to tap out for the night, Dr. Adam Roorda? Tapping out, good. I will say this as an homage to that great classic rock group, Leonard Skinner. I'm just a simple kind of man, and mixed martial arts and combat sports fighting is something I love and understand. Go out and spread the love in a positive way. Let people know you got their back. It's still really hard times that we're in, and let people know you got their back could give them the encouragement they need to keep it going. So do that. Take good care of all your friends, family, and your pets. Make sure you walk your dog whenever he or she needs it. Keep your cat's litter box clean. Make sure they have cold water, good fresh food, and a safe, warm place when it's cold, and a cool place when it's hot. For all the team here at the MMA Power Hour, this is Colin Crandall. Really enjoyed being with you. Big love and respect to all you guys. Peace, and I'm out of here. I'm tapping out.